Welcome everybody to the Rival StarCraft League. We are in our round of 16 Group B now.
Yes,
And
indeed, we are.
featuring Group B, we do have Game Time, Panda Bear Me, Semper, and unfortunately Ray Rain did have to drop, so Semper will have a walkover to the
Yep.
winners match. I am Koshkii, and with me is JaKaTaK. How are you doing, JaKaTaK?
I'm doing excellent. Been awesome. Getting a lot of work done recently, which is nice. A lot of cool projects coming up in the month of March that I'm very excited about. But yeah, so too bad to hear about Ray Rain. So our Protoss Kala is diminished this evening. One less
Yeah.
Protosser in the mix, but we do have some excellent Zergs and a Terran player. First map is going to be a ZVZ match, rather. Panda Bear Me versus Game Time. Arguably, two of the very best American Zerg players right now.
Yeah, both players very skilled. We've seen a lot of good play out of Panda Bear Me and Game Time recently. I've seen both their games, and they are very skilled Zerg players. It looks like our first map is going to be Laralac.
Nice. Laralac, get that nice open natural. Good to see some Ling aggression on the map. Just watched a base raid between Violet and Scarlet on that. Fortunately, Violet did get the short end of the stick, but we'll have to see. Have to see if madness does ensue on Laralac Crest. It does have the multiple options. We could have a cross base scenario. We could have a close spawns scenario. Laralac's one of those maps where it's not like Saros, where you have like close by air, close by ground, and then cross. It's really just kind of cross or not cross. Those are really the two major options. Sometimes stuff gets mixed up a bit with dropping, and you get better locations for drops. But now that you have that destructible rocks not there anymore, now, I mean, the rock tower got replaced by the regular destructible rocks, right? I'm thinking about Zergling drops a little bit more difficult because you have to either break the rocks or you have to load up the Overlord from before the rocks and go all the way across the distance of the third before you get the drop.
Yeah, that's a really good point to bring up. I was thinking, oh, Laralac, I see drops on that sometimes, but as you mentioned, with that change, it's going to be a lot tougher to get those Zerglings right into position.
Yep. ZVP, generally the matchup where you see a lot of those Zergling drops, so probably a little bit more apparent or a little bit more applicable to that kind of a scenario. But ZVZ, we do see drops on occasion, so this map is going to sort of disincentivize that play. Maybe a little bit more usual ground-based play with some Lingbane into Roach. But we'll have to see. We are spawning ketchup and mustard today. We're going to have a condiment matchup. How do you feel about that, Koshkii?
I'll be honest, I've never tasted ketchup or real mustard. I'm allergic to both.
You had mustard.
I had mustard once, but it was without vinegar. I actually can't have that, so.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
we have a fact
that's how I
checker
feel
in the
about
same room. Anything that you say that's incorrect, you're going to get called out immediately. Better watch out. We have, on Laralac Crest, we've got cross positions here. Spawning in the bottom left, it's future CEO's Panda Bear Me.
And in the top right, we have our yellow Zerg. It is Game Time.
All right, so we do see the extractor trick play from Game Time. A little bit more efficient. Going for that 14 Overlord single extractor trick play. It does take quite a bit of time for the early game mathematics to kick in and be distributed out to the entirety of the StarCraft community. So there are a lot of people still building 13 Overlords, still building 14 Overlords, and letting themselves build up to 3 larvae and lose larva production. Different things like that are still happening. So we're seeing that a little bit out of Panda Bear Me, a little bit behind the curve, but very small disadvantage there, not anything crazy. Hatch gas pool from Panda Bear Me, whereas we have a much faster gas and pool for Game Time. So nice advantage, I think, here for Panda Bear Me. It's going to be difficult for Game Time. Although we went, pool earlier, pool before hatch, not a lot of options for any sort of aggression that's going to deal damage.
Yeah, because of game time spawning position, those lings are going to take a long time to get over to Panda Bear Me's base.
It's interesting. Back in Heart of the Swarm, Fenner did this really cool analysis on pool before hatch and hatch before pool on like, I think 15-ish supply at the time. And they ended up being about the same because what happens is if you go for an early pool, you get to have a faster queen, which means more larva, which means more drones, and it ended up being like a perfect wash. I haven't seen any sort of analysis on that in Legacy of the Void, but I wonder who comes out on top as far as economy goes. The earlier queen or the earlier hatchery. Of course, being able to spread out your work is very, very valuable in Legacy of the Void.
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I'm curious as to how that works out. Looks like Game Time will be getting his speed out quite faster than Panda Bear Me. The ling's moving across the map. However, Panda Bear Me does have that quicker natural base, and that could make all the difference here. Both players going to get their Baneling nest around the same time.
Yeah, Game Time's turning the aggression on. He's making nothing but lings. Sending some lings out in the front. Those will probably be turned into Banelings. He's pooling up lings in his main. Potentially here just waiting for speed to kick in and then going to send them across the map. You want to delay your opponent knowing you're being aggressive until the last possible moment. Ooh, look at this. He's even pulling his lings off to the side. And the attack has been triggered. Speed is finished. He's flying across the map. Those early Zerglings moving across the map. Some of them, one of them got killed off. 3 of them will be morphed into Baneling. You really like 4. 2 Banelings at a time in groups of 2. Very, very powerful in this matchup. That's what allows you to kill workers and other Banelings as well. So we do have a potential 2 for 3 trade here available for Panda Bear Me. It's all going to come down to micro. Man, those drones need to mineral walk. Wow, that was a bit scary. Ooh, nicely done there. Excellent from Panda Bear Me. Pulls back his 1 Baneling and 2 for 1 trade there. Game Time coming out behind. 5 for 1 trade there on the Zerglings. Good trade so far for Panda Bear Me. Spinecrawler is up. This is looking like a pretty solid defense. A lot of units behind. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say those queens preventing. Yeah, those queens causing a little bit of an issue for the drones and the army. But one thing that was nice for Panda Bear Me earlier is he saw this attack coming, so you can definitely tell he's prepared for it.
Yep. Yeah, Game Time tried to hide it as long as possible, but the defense was ready in time, and like I said, going for this earlier spawning pool, it's nice if your opponent opens aggressively, but Panda Bear Me opened up with that hatch first, and good end for the build orders here from Panda Bear Me. An excellent micro as well. That's, I mean, not to be sort of put to the side. Like the micro, the control, very important in this early game stage.
Definitely very good there from Panda Bear Me, and we've got a lair to follow this up. So do you think Panda Bear Me will be going for more of a Ling Bling Muta style?
It's definitely possible. Generally speaking, when we see 2-base lair, it is for Mutalisks. The one thing I'm kind of looking out for is more spine crawlers. One of the indicators can be... Ooh, nice scout. Look at this. Panda Bear Me getting a full scout off. Gets to see pretty much everything. And is going to run in here for a little bit of harassment. Nice trades here for Panda Bear Me. Lings for Banes.
Ooh, Baneling gets some okay hits there. 4 drones have been killed for Game Time, and right now in the early game, you know, every drone really does matter.
Yep, we do have that Spire coming down. Big worker lead here for Panda Bear Me, and we have a large attack coming across the map. Will he be able to prepare for this in time? This Spinecrawler is in a nice sort of zoning position if you have the army to back it up, but Game Time doesn't really have that. Making so many Banelings. Oh, this might be a very, very powerful attack here. Catching his opponent while he's going for that Spire.
Right. Going for that layer there did, you know, mean that he sacrificed a little bit in the way of army, Panda Bear Me.
Oh, surrounding these queens. That was really important. Oh, and the Baneling hits do not favor Panda Bear Me here. He needed to trade up in a major way, and he did not. So many workers are about to go down here. This is incredibly frustrating for Panda Bear Me. Look at that 600 gas in the bank. He wants to turn that into Mutalisks. If he can get them out in time, he might be able to salvage this game. But every second that goes by is another drone killed.
Yeah, 16 drones have been lost in this attack for Panda Bear Me.
Oh, he's going to lose the hatch.
And losing that hatch is such a big deal now. And now Game Time, he does see that Spire.
Yeah, not even having the minerals to spend his gas at this
Yeah.
stage of the game. Went for that risk, went for that aggressive tech up, but did not manage to pull it off here. Banelings kind of sneaking in their way. Got a bit of a Baneling surround coming in over here. Oh, one of those Banelings on top moving a bit too far. Nice detonations there on the Banelings. And lots of units still coming across the map, streaming in. We do have our first Mutalisk on the way. And that's what Pandabermi needs to stabilize. Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. 3 Mutalisks, it's sort of like, we talk about Mutalisks like, oh man, what a cool unit. When you have 3 or 4, it's just sort of like flying paperweights, you know?
Exactly. These Mutalisks, 3 Mutalisks to hold off this many Lings that are now on the field, it's going to be very difficult for Pandabermi.
Absolutely, and the hatch that he needs is so far away. He's got that 3rd hatch up, should help him out. We do have more and more mutas coming out, so the longer this goes on, the more that tech advantage is going to come into play here for Pandabermi and to help out. We do have an even worker count, but the additional larva advantage and the base advantage is in favor of game time at this moment.
Yeah, so far, even though he's been very aggressive, game time has been macroing up a little bit behind this. He has gotten another hatchery. And he's mainly making Link. That 3rd hatchery could just be for larva, but it's still nice to have, and it's more than Pandabermi has.
Yep. Okay, so now we've made it to this point here. Pandabermi has gotten up that critical mass of Mutalisks that allows him to defend pretty much infinite number of Zerglings. He will be using the mobility of the Zergling to his little bit of misclick there to his advantage. Going to take out some more drones here. Very nicely done. So you can see, even though he has the straight up fight advantage, it's still really difficult to deal with these Zerglings that are just all over the place here, and bouncing between these 2 bases, quite difficult, losing so many workers, trying to rebuild them to the best of his ability. But we are getting closer and closer. Every single Mutalisk that comes in just makes this so much more powerful for Pandabermi. This tech advantage is starting to get a little bit out of control.
Yes, it is, and the layer for game time is just about to finish, so it's going to be a while. If game time decides to put down a Spire, it's going to be a while before the mutas are even out, and GG is called.
And that's it. He holds long enough, Pandabermi. And the other thing I was thinking too, sure, he's building a lair, but he's like 15 Mutalisks behind. Like, if you're going to try to beat your opponent who's already ahead of you, you gotta vary that strategy. You gotta go in a different direction. Be like, oh man, I'll just do whatever my opponent is doing, but worse. Bad idea. Doesn't work out most of the time.
Very well done there for Pandabermi. It looked a little scary after he lost his natural, but he still held. He knew those mutas were on the way, and he made it work.
Yep, absolutely. And that's that sort of very knife's edge hold there. He's getting the Mutalisks up. He's got to get enough. He's got to get enough to hold. And you could see he was losing so many workers, but most of his money was going into the Mutalisks, and sort of any extra minerals was, for the most part, going back into drones. So he was able to keep an even drone count, even though he kept losing drones over and over again. And just barely, you have that moment where the long-term investment finally pays off, and that's where Pandabermi gets the victory. The GG gets thrown down. Next map, Dusk Towers. So, very straightforward map. This is one of the more comfortable maps for players. You do have that backdoor expansion. So it's going to allow us to move out of the early game a bit faster than normal, but still quite a bit of space between the 3rd, which is sometimes taken as the 2nd, and the main. So that can be abused in a major way. You can still see a lot of aggression on this map. Really, I mean, in ZVZ, I don't think there are any maps where it's sort of like, okay, it's really bad to play aggressively here.
Yeah.
Like, pretty much all the time you can go for a 14-14, a 13-12, and get pretty good value if you have stronger control than your opponent.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if somebody opened again with a quicker spawning pool. But as you said, that in-base natural does make taking your hatchery, or going hatch first, a little bit easier if you decide to take it there. Some players do decide to take it where the 3rd would normally be, to help creep spread, I believe.
Well, to help creep spread, and it's about as well, I mean, you look at all the matchups as a Zerg player where you're going to take your expansion. You want to consider, okay, is taking my natural going to be the difficult area of the game? Or is it going to be more difficult to take my 3rd? If it's more difficult, you feel, to take your 3rd, you take your natural in the more vulnerable location, and then you save that 3rd for, okay, you know, maybe in ZVZ, for instance, maybe this is the time where I'm afraid of aggression. I think a lot of stuff's going to be happening. It's going to be hard to get a drone out into the vulnerable location and to take that base. So you just leave it off until later. Or you might say, okay, I'm really worried about very early game stuff. I'm going to take my natural in the back, get control of the map, and then take my third in the more vulnerable location. So
Yeah,
it
that
really
actually,
depends on a lot of factors.
yeah, and that makes sense too. Here we go. The game is now starting, or at least it's getting loaded up here.
Game time comes in and he's like, I think Hawk said game time ready, and I just read that. I was like, game time? What time is it? Game time. That's the time.